That's it. Oh, yep. Is it? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
All right, we're going to kick off the next section. For those who were in the earlier session, welcome back. And for those that are new, welcome to the City of Launceston's Resilient City Symposium. So we now have a presentation that's all about rubbish and waste and recycling. And we are here with Justin Jones, who's the Director of Dusk Waste Consulting. Justin will be giving a presentation about all things waste, and then we'll also have some question and answer time. He'll be joined by Mick from City of Launceston, who's our Waste and Environment Officer. And for those who were in the earlier session, I told you we were going to use this catch box microphone and we didn't, but as we're recording the event, I will be throwing this to people who would like to ask a question, just so we can capture it. I don't have to throw it hard, I can pass it to you, but if you could all use the microphone to ask your questions, that would be amazing. And that's it from me.
Cool. Thank you so much. Welcome. Please, I'd like this session to be very interactive. So I'm sure we've got all some lovely questions in regards to all things waste, recycling, resource recovery, all that sort of stuff. So I'll give a chat today in regards to what the City of Launceston is doing, and then a little bit more of a broader, I guess, thought-provoking discussion in regards to all things waste and what the future may hold. Who is Just Waste? A boutique consultancy started about 15 years ago. I'm lucky enough to have been working on and off with the City of Launceston over the last 5 to 6 years on everything in regards to landfills, curbside, waste minimisation. I'm lucky enough through my company to work throughout Australia. I had a fellow colleague of mine in Darwin 2 days ago looking at all things waste. We've been doing lots of work in regards to the rural New South Wales areas as well. So looking at waste minimisation and strategic planning and all those sorts of things. I also run a couple of sites here in Tasmania, some landfills, some transfer stations and some organic facilities. Waste is my life, born and bred into it, and I love it. It's an ever-evolving, changing industry, and it's very exciting in regards to what we are looking at right now. So, what happened? Why are we here talking about waste? Waste has always been one of those topics that's been never discussed. It's an end-of-pipe process. War on waste really brought the word waste, resource recovery, to the forefront. China said no. China is still saying no. Some other countries are saying no, and they have good reason to, and we'll get into that as well. And also, who would have thought that I've been speaking on radios throughout Tasmania, and also an actual war on waste was a part of the Q&A. So who would have thought that waste would be at the front in topical discussions that we're having now as a nation? But I guess if we could put up our hand if we actually produce waste. Yes, we do. Who has a curbside bin? Yep, perfect. Do you have 2 bins or do you have 3 bins? 2, 3, perfect. Okay. So we all produce waste in some sort of way. And whether it's through our home duties, our work life, we're all producing what we call waste. However, I'd love to change it. And unfortunately, my business name, Just Waste, probably needs to be redone, but too much money in marketing, so we'll just leave it at that. But we need to change the thought process in regards to this. And it's actually a resource. Waste is a resource. What we put in our wheelie bins, what we produce, what we use is a resource, and we need to make sure that we're looking at it like that, because we all have a responsibility. We may think that we don't, but we do. Us as individuals, council, community, and also industry. We all have an opportunity. So we need to look at some drivers for change. So again, I'm sort of getting into that high-level thought process, but we need to think about what we're producing and what we're actually doing with that material. So the waste hierarchy here, okay, so obviously most preferable is to avoid waste. I'd love to be out of a job in the next 10 years, okay, because if we avoid waste, we won't have waste. And I always put it through to my children that I do their lunches of a morning, then of an afternoon, it's still half full of food. It's like, why? I wasn't hungry, I was too busy, excuses. Okay, but you need to really look at that thought process of what we're producing, and are we buying too much? Are we throwing out because it's so easy? So the waste hierarchy is sort of the statistical thought process that we utilise throughout our industry. Council, certainly this is the forefront of their mind in regards to avoiding, and then obviously with landfill and disposal is the least preferred. Once it's gone in the ground, it's gone forever. So how have we evolved? How's the city of Launceston taken waste as an issue, scruffed it by the neck and run with it and changed it? I introduced FO and Go. We have FO. The things you do for a contract, I'm Go. Okay, but it was a really good introduction to the community in regards to what we are trying to achieve through our food and garden organic service. Council is probably one of the first, or not one of the first in Tasmania, but one of few that's gone with a voluntary system for food organics, garden organics at the curb, purely because we wanted to make sure that the community that wanted this service were going to treat it with love and respect. And we'll get into contamination and the issues that we can do that happens with those sorts of things when people use the wrong bin. And I'll also talk about contamination in your waste bin, because there are products that are going in there that shouldn't be. So again, leading the forefront in regards to organics. Recycle Centre up at the Launceston Waste Centre. Again, a really good system of utilising the diversion opportunities that the City of Launceston has. So when you can't put everything in your curbside wheelie bin, like your TV, please don't. People do, but please don't. Take it to the waste centre. Polystyrene, soft plastics, anything in that can actually go and be utilised through this system. Uptippity, fantastic system here where we're providing products, jobs, income for a community organisations, not for profit through city mission. Okay, so these are the products that would actually end up in landfill if they weren't diverted at the recycle centre. Again, another opportunity in regards to diverting that material. Seaport, the boardwalk. Everyone realise that this is made out of recycled plastic? No? Yes? Okay, perfect. Okay, another opportunity and another great system that the City of Launceston has chosen. This actually costs more than virgin material. Okay, but through their green purchasing policy and through the process that was taken through the tendering, Council was able to utilise a recycled product. And this is where we as leaders, and we're all leaders, need to change our purchasing policies to make sure that we are doing this. Because they are products that we can actually purchase. It's no point recycling for the recycling's sake if there's not an opportunity to sell the material. Landfill gas. So once the material ends up in landfill and it's gone forever, we actually do through a contractor from Adelaide is to extract the methane from the landfill and produce landfill gas. This powers 1,500 households in the Launceston community. Okay, and it's another great resource in regards to tapping into, I guess, the degradation and the utilisation of this gas that would otherwise go to atmosphere. The audit process. So I mentioned that we've all got a curbside recycling bin, and some people either don't utilise it properly or they don't understand what should and shouldn't go in there. So through the regional group here in Launceston, Just Waste was engaged to do a curbside recycling audit. So in December 2018, we were lucky enough to capture 55 samples. Okay, so 55 samples from the region, 20 were from Launceston over a 2-week period. And we captured a snapshot in time in regards to a 2.5 cubic metre bucket load, and we hand sorted it. Okay, we had 37 different categories that we were looking at, and the main issues that we were looking at was contamination. Because again, with the China issue and the utilisation of these products, we need to make sure that it is clean as possible. The results. Whilst not too bad for Launceston at 10.5% contamination, it's now not acceptable to be over 10. 10 used to be the national standard that most recycling companies were okay with, but now with the issues of selling material and having open markets for that material, because we are reprocessing that material into a raw product, it's now down to at least 5%. In Melbourne, if you've got over 3%, councils are charged accordingly. But what is the reasons for contamination? And this is the next step the City of Launceston's looking at, is why people are contaminating. Batteries, okay, textiles, rubber hoses, plastic bags, all things that have a potential to be recycled but not through the curbside. So through an education campaign and through the curbside inspection process, we're now providing all that information to the community about how best to utilise your curbside recycling bin. Unfortunately, some people just don't care. Needles, never recyclable, okay? And I guess the issue is that a lot of people don't understand the sorting process for your curbside recyclables. There are people that touch your material as it goes on their belt. So again, it's having that thought process that if you're going to put something in the curbside recycling bin, that somebody may actually touch that product to sort it properly. So again, through the audit process, we're able to utilise this data and be able to then provide that information to the community. Breakdown of the contamination. As I mentioned before, 10.5% for the Launceston City Council. Okay. That's all right, you can come in. So 10.5%. However, when you're looking at what these commodities are that people are putting in, bagged domestic waste is one of the highest contaminants that people are putting in their curbside bin. So if you only get one thing out of today's little session, is that you will treat your yellow little bin with some respect and actually utilise it correctly. And if in doubt, put it in your red bin. Okay, it's a national issue that's happening in regards to what can and can't be put in. But unfortunately, if somebody puts in a bag of garden waste or lawn clippings, once the bin's emptied, the bag breaks up, it scatters through the load, and the majority of recycling people will just stand back and let all that product go off the end of the belt to landfill because it's too difficult and it's too hazardous to sort. So please treat your bin with respect. Again, when we're looking at these sort of data sets, and data is king, you've got the textiles, you've got your soft plastics as well, and you've got your e-waste. So again, understanding what you can put in your curbside bin is important, because there are opportunities for recycling these products at the Launceston Waste Centre, and 99% of the time it's free. So utilise it. When we're talking about recycling and the change that's happened now with the China sword, the issues with recycling and the actual commodity prices which have gone down, and when I talk about China, okay, it's not just China, it's Malaysia, it's Asia, it's Europe. They're all having issues recycling, but you still can recycle these products. It's just a little bit of a tweak in the system in regards to the commodity prices. So now when you recycle something, you used to get a rebate, now you actually have to pay for it. Okay, but it's still an opportunity to recycle. So we are now moving towards what we're trying to achieve is a circular economy. The latest buzzword happening in Australia. 10 years ago it was in Europe. Okay, so we're slowly catching up. Okay, but it's about utilising that product again and again and again. PET, okay, one of two plastics that is still valuable in the recycling industry. That's because there's an opportunity to recycle this into, Mick, can you stand up? That shirt that Mick's got on, polyester. In theory, 3 of these bottles are in that. Okay? So that's what we need to look at in regards to the recycling. Thank you, Mick. My little prop. Okay, we need to look at those opportunities for where we're actually purchasing those materials. So again, the Seaport Boardwalk, made out of LDPE and PVC and PPE. So there's lots of different products in regards to the recyclables and the plastics that are going into that. But unless we have people that are purchasing these products, there's no point recycling them. So again, that's circular economy. So what we're looking at is turning our materials that we collect into raw products. Because we're actually now producing a product that is now saleable into the manufacturing industry. So we're not just cleaning up plastic and shipping it off. We're going to that next step. Polystyrene. Okay, the City of Launceston collects polystyrene for free at the Launceston Waste Centre. The couple of stations that I manage and through the regional group, we're actually taking polystyrene to there as well. This is put through an extrusion process, so it reduces by about 90% of its capacity, of its volume, sorry. Shipped back to China, and then when you buy a TV, it's wrapped back in it. Okay, so again, that full loop in regards to how we're actually trying to recycle this product. You may think that it's a little bit annoying, it's light, it's bulky, but it's even more annoying when you put it in the landfill. It blows around, it's litter, it doesn't compact properly, it takes up valuable airspace. So utilising the system that we have in place at the Launceston Waste Centre is perfect. And I've seen many people rock up there with the TV box that's got the polystyrene in it and the soft plastic. And you know what? Those 3 materials are recyclable and it's easy. They will help you. So please utilise that. Glass. Glass is the biggest issue facing the recycling industry right now. It's a low value product. Sand is a lot cheaper. You need to crush it, you need to wash it, you need to clean it, you need to give it a cuddle to be able to utilise it again, okay? But it's coming. We've already got a couple of streets around Launceston. The Launceston Waste Centre's asphalt area is made out of 5% of glass. Island Block and Paving have Bricks for the Future. So they've got glass that's actually being processed here in Tasmania. But the issue is that this costs. This has never been a commodity, it's a cost. But it does cost less than landfill. So we need to make sure that we're utilising these products. And this is where we need to put pressure on government, okay, and industry to buy back this product. I guess my worst issue is that I drive down to Hobart a lot. By the time we're finished, we'll have 200 kilometres of brand new highway down there, and there is a 0 glass in that asphalt, purely because it doesn't meet the standards. Okay? However, in Victoria, they're now tweaking the standards so we can actually utilise it. So once this then becomes a commodity that can be utilised through the purchasing process of state and local government, this will no longer be an issue because people will be hunting it. Don't be concerned though, because it is happening. Over the next 12 months, the new MRF here in Launceston will start operating and they'll be utilising this glass, turning it into a proper product that can be then sold into the open market. So how do we increase diversion? We need to make sure that it's easy. We're all busy, yeah? Rock up to the transfer station, trying to separate your stuff at home, too busy, just put in that bin, that's fine, it'll go. But once it's gone into landfill, it's gone forever. So we need to make it easy. So again, food organics, garden organics. You don't need to take your trailer to the transfer station anymore. You can easily just put that in there. You don't need to put your food in the waste bin anymore. You've got another system in place. Okay. Second chance bins, or when you're actually operating, when you turn up to a transfer station, there's all those opportunities as well to donate or to recycle, because sometimes it's like, ooh, what do I do with this product? Launceston Waste Centre, they will help you. Enforcement and cost. It's another way that we can actually increase diversion. If you're in Sydney right now, taking your trailer of rubbish to the transfer station, get out your credit card, because it'll be $100. So when people here in Launceston complain about a $10, $11 minimum fee, okay, it is quite cheap in the grand scheme of things. So again, we need to make sure we're recycling as much as possible. We need to educate so that we understand what is happening and what can actually happen to these products, which will then drive behavioural change. That's how we get to where we need to be. And then sometimes we just need to plead. We need to plead to the community and say, please help us, because we've got all these systems in place. And if we don't change what we're doing, landfills will fill up, and you won't be paying $10 for a trailer, you'll be paying $30, $40. So how do we increase diversion? So what's left in your curbside waste bin after you avoid? Because we all want to avoid waste. But then we've also got our recycle bin, which is done fortnightly. If you're in Launceston and lucky enough to have a food organics bin, you've got that fortnightly. But how do we increase diversion? And what's left in your wheelie bin? In theory, just some dirty plastic that can't be recycled. So alternatives. We hear, and the little bit of work I do with Launceston, we hear people saying, you will never take my weekly waste bin off me. How dare you? But if you do it properly, you don't need to. So in New South Wales right now, the standard is weekly FOGO, okay? Fortnightly recycling, and then the next week, weekly FOGO, fortnightly waste. That is the standard that is pushing right now to increase diversion. Now again, there's 1,001 different scenarios, you know, a household of 5 with 3 kids in nappies, all those sorts of things. There are opportunities and tweaks of the system, but the majority of the population can work this way. I have a fortnightly waste bin, a little 140 litre actually, from the Meander Valley Council in Blackstone. Yeah, it's a bit tough sometimes, especially when my wife, who doesn't really know what I do, doesn't recycle properly, okay? But we get through, we manage, we work it out, okay? So again, could we all work towards this? Maybe. Political pressure? Yes. Will it take a very strong government, local government, to change a weekly service to fortnightly? Yes. But I put it to you. Would you be able to cope with a monthly residual bin, a monthly waste bin? Because if you recycle properly, there's not much left. It'll take a very brave local government to do that, and they're already looking at that in Victoria and New South Wales right now. Okay? So if you've got a weekly waste bin, give it a cuddle, because it may not be there in the future. Okay? But we need to make sure we're utilising those other services that we've got to the maximum. So continuing to be resilient, because that's what we're all about here today, looking at how the City of Launceston is resilient and how we can then strive to be resilient. And it takes leadership. Okay? But not just from local government, not just from state government, but from all of us. Because we're all leaders in one way or another. So again, glass. It's changing, it's happening. Through a new contract the City of Launceston's just signed, we're going to look at making sure that all glass is not just landfilled, that it's actually recycled properly and turn into a valuable product that hopefully we'll be able to see and showcase. Solar power. So looking at those other systems in place that we can utilise for the Launceston Waste Centre and the landfill space. So again, looking at these opportunities for where we have landfill space that's been capped, it's been finished, and now we can utilise it for solar. Construction and demolition. This is the next phase that the City of Launceston is looking at, is to try and divert over 80% of construction and demolition waste that enters the landfill. With a little bit of tweaking and a lot of hard work, it can be achieved. Okay, but there needs to be systems in place to make sure there are mechanical sorting and there's processes in place. But then again, there's an opportunity to purchase this material back. So your timbers, your rocks, your concretes, all that sort of stuff. And green purchasing, because really important it is to make sure that we have people that want to utilise these products, so that then we can make sure that we're actually producing a raw material that can be sold into the community, into the industry. So green purchasing. So can the future be of one where nothing goes to waste? So waste-free, zero waste to landfill, all those sorts of things. Can we? Well, potentially. Okay? But really, we need to avoid. And that's the key from today, is to make sure that we're avoiding as much as possible in regards to our waste processing. But if you are going to produce waste, you need to make sure that you're recycling it in the best way possible, so that we have clean products. Thank you. Questions?
And Nick is also here to join
Yeah.
us as well.
I've got a question.
Oh, Dorothy
Nice
Dix?
setup.
Wait, you've got to demonstrate how.
Yeah, exactly.
Go. Go.
Pressure was
Go.
on.
Hi, I've got a question. Testing, 1, 2, yeah, okay. I'm interested to know, like, from your experience nationally, the growth of waste, as in per year, is it going up? Is it going down? Is it, because we're always trying to do something about it, but are we fighting a tide that so give us some picture about that.
So it was quite interesting during the global financial crisis, where the world was going to end many moons ago. Waste still increased by 6% that particular year in Australia. So even though there was all this pressure financially and there was no construction or purchasing, there was still waste increasing. At the moment in the north of Tassie, we're sort of holding stead in regards to the amount of waste going to landfill, but on a national scale it's still increasing, and it will continue to increase until we find opportunities and alternatives for avoiding it in the first place, but then recycling and reusing it firstly. The back?
No, I don't know about your catching skills, but that's fine.
I'm interested in the glass recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Glass takes a lot of energy to produce it in the first place, and probably just as much to recycle it. But has there been any moves to try and get companies that use glass to actually reuse it rather than having to crush it down and reformat it each time?
Yeah, I guess the European way of washing and reusing the glass is certainly working there. Unfortunately, Australia and I guess the Asian market has gone to lightweighting glass bottles, so they won't actually work now in regards to the washing process that needs to happen for a full reuse of that glass bottle. So unfortunately, we're stuck with what we are doing, and that is crushing and then trying to remanufacture it into glass.
So what do they actually do in Europe then?
Europe?
Do the same companies take their containers back?
Most of the time, yes. Yep. So you take them back in little crates. When I was a boy, Bogues Brewery used to do that as well. But yeah, with the light weighting of glass these days, it doesn't happen. Yeah. I guess the big issue again with the Australian market is that glass bottles are way cheaper to purchase from Asia. So our Australian manufacturing is now down to about 3 glass beneficiary plants. It's just too easy and too cheap to purchase them.
If I can just add to that,
Yeah, go.
The tyranny of distance is a big problem.
Thank you.
The tyranny of distance is a big problem here, where it costs a lot of money to ship empty bottles back to a packaging plant because you're shipping a lot of air.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what, when I talk to people like Coca-Cola, and so that's what they're saying is that one of their biggest issues with washing, taking empty containers back, washing them and refilling them again.
Yep. Yeah. I guess you look at Europe, and the size of Tassie's got about 20 million people in it, so that distance is a lot easier. Thanks for your question. Yeah. Catch. Did anyone sign a waiver in case you got hot and hit in the head?
Just on colour in soft plastics.
Yes.
When I was at the tip shop, I think just over a couple of months, I was there twice. And I noticed that they were not taking the high colour
Mm-hmm.
plastic bags.
Yes.
They were still taking plain
Yes.
coloured plastic bags, and I ended up going over to Coles and leaving
Yep.
them all there. But, so that is an issue, high
Definitely.
colour. So
Yep.
what are we doing about that?
Mhm.
And secondly, in terms of, you know, Telstra's, Australia Post is so successful now with our online shopping experiences, but they are really bringing a lot of rubbish into, a lot of weight, you know, packaging into households.
Yep.
What is happening there in terms of dialogue with
Yep.
Australia Post to reduce that?
Sure thing. So on the soft plastics, there's been a crash in the market for soft plastic. So at the moment, even your clear plastic is not really that valuable in regards to its commodity price, and the coloured and the low grade plastic is also not really that valuable. The issue is at the moment is that through your supermarkets, and we won't say any brands because we're not here to sell that, but the issue is that Replas, who does most of the recycling for the shopping for the supermarkets, has way too much product and not enough people buying it. So again, it's that issue of we've got so much plastic bags over here, but no one's buying our benches, our bollards, our seats. So there's a bit of a gap in the market there, and the same with the coloured plastic. Hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months there'll be a plant fully operational here in Tassie, and they'll be taking that product, and it's a low grade product. But again, people need to purchase that.
And what about Australia Post? Are you
Australia-
talking to them?
No, we're not talking to them. Packaging, I guess, is through the Australian Packaging Covenant. So there's a little bit of confusion in regards to what is recyclable and what is not. But yeah, every time you click, every time the postman comes to my house and leaves a box, there's about 4 different plastics wrapped in it. And that's purely, I guess, the purchasing that powers that we have these days of the old click and collect. It will come a time where most of that material is recyclable. But at the moment, you know, you buy a razor from the supermarket and there's 4 different types of plastic, and the packaging is so big. So it's an issue that's being discussed and worked at. But until people then tweak the system, well then hopefully then there'll be some change. It will come, like Coca-Cola, they're now producing 100% recycled content in their bottles. It'll eventually come to all their product, okay? But again, it's all about that safety and how we actually go with that.
How come some people, like some countries in Tasmania, have banned plastic bags and others haven't?
Yes. So Tasmania has a plastic bag ban. Personally and professionally, I don't agree, because all we've done is we've heavyweighted our bags. Okay? Or I've got 72 of them in the back of my car because I keep forgetting to take them in. Okay? But again, it's a really good question in regards to why do we need a bag? Yes, some states have banned it, but I guess we need to make sure that we're not continually purchasing those bags if we don't need them. Yeah. Good question.
I was going to make a comment on whether the governmental legislation travelling abroad, countries like Morocco, for about 5 years now, the plastic bags have been, it's a $500 US fine
Yep.
if you're caught with a plastic bag.
Mhm.
And 2012 used to be plastic hanging off all the thorn trees and all over
Yep.
the place, and now you just don't see plastic in the environment.
Yeah.
I just wonder governmentally why there's such resistance to acting
Yep.
in first world countries when
Yeah.
some of the third world actually have got on board.
Yeah, I guess with plastic bags, it's certainly an interesting one. You look at New South Wales when they introduced it, and there was people, stealing shopping trolleys, and we want our plastic bag, we deserve our plastic bag. But I guess the issue is that whilst the government can enforce that, while they can legislate it, they need to enforce it. And I guess that's a big issue that we have here, is that littering. Yes, it's enforceable, but there's not many fines out there. Illegal dumping, all those sorts of things. But if you're going to have legislation, we need to make sure we're enforcing it. And unfortunately, big business sometimes has the control. The supermarkets, they produce a lot of plastic bags. But again, they're actually trying to change the way they're doing. I do a bit of work for both supermarket chains, and they if they're going to change a little bit to save a lot of money, they will. And they are doing that, looking at the recycling opportunities. Because yet again, in New South Wales, $300 a tonne to dispose of your waste to landfill. Here it's 100. Okay? So again, it's that price point of pushing it.
Thanks for your presentation, Justin.
No worries.
One for both of you. When our current landfill runs out, what's the likelihood that we're going to have to replace it with another landfill, or do you think by the time that we're at that point that we won't have the need to be using landfill?
Yep. Going to go first, Mick?
Yes.
Yeah, grab the box.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, when we're talking, Justin, 20 years, 30 years capacity at the moment. The council also has a lot of land that it owns that it can redevelop. It's really expensive, as you know. $5 million to build our latest cell, another 4 thereabouts to cap it and make sure that we're capturing all the surface water leachate. It's really expensive business, and it's not like we want to be doing it. I think in that amount of time, we will see a vastly different approach to what's happening. We'll look at places like Europe that are going to zero waste. There are places that are saying, we're not opening up another landfill. So they're forced to find the alternatives, and that's the place that I think we need to be.
Just on that, I guess we need to look at our waste streams as a whole and see where the best fit for each product can go. Organics, we're diverting around about 10,000 tonnes at the moment. We're hopefully, through some commercial people and some other councils coming on board, around 25,000 tonnes a year will go through our small little organic processing facility. So that's 25,000 tonnes that would normally go to landfill. So we're chipping away at it. Waste to energy, will we ever get into that? I don't think in the next 10 to 15 years Australia has an appetite, especially Tasmania. But I was lucky enough to be in Europe about 15, 16 years ago, stayed at a Novotel hotel in Switzerland right next to a waste incinerator. You wouldn't even notice the difference. Okay, so there is technologies out there, but is that the best use of that resource? And I think that's what we need to understand, is what we need to do with our resources, because landfill is expensive, and even once you close the door, you need to rehabilitate it, you need to look after it for the next 30 years, and someone has to pay. So we need to make sure that we're not putting that material in the landfill to start with.
Thank you, Justin, for this important presentation and the discussion now. Pure organic carbon capture and storage. Have you heard of the term?
Definitely.
You have?
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm working on this together with collaborations around the world. I get a lot of echo and a lot of buy-in and interest from people beyond Tasmania.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the opportunities, there is not much communication happening. So I have tried, and I continue to try.
Mm-hmm.
I now represent a number of high-tech technology companies from Germany and Austria, and they are in the game. They're not going to, but they're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
So be it carbon capture and storage from sewage sludge, i.e. Tas water, but carbon capture and storage from woody materials.
Mm-hmm.
It could be woody waste or demolition waste or other.
Yep.
Carbon capture and storage in streetscape, so from earlier discussions we had today.
Mm-hmm.
The City of Stockholm, they have got an amazing program going on with urban trees. They're using demolition waste, like broken concrete and stuff, and they're mixing it with biochar that's loaded up with nutrients, which are coming from waste streams, verticommerce.
Yep.
So is there an interest from either your consulting company and or the City Council or other Northern Regional Waste Management agencies? Is there an interest to collaborate?
Always an interest to collaborate through professionally, through my consulting or through the City of Launceston. We're always looking at opportunities that best suit, I guess, the materials that we play with and that we handle. And whilst we look at landfill or recycling or organics or biochar capture or incineration or anaerobic digestion, there's 1,001 suites of systems in place that we can utilise. So yes, definitely moving forward, the strategic plan will certainly look at those opportunities because, as we say, the landfill will, I'm not saying right now because I don't know, but in about 20 to 30 years the landfill will be full. I can tell you now it'll take about 10 to 15 years to get another landfill established. The EPA, the guidelines, you know, where to put it, not in my backyard, not close to me, all those sorts of things will occur. Okay, so again, the planning will happen in regards to what we do with our waste in the future. Oh, box, John.
Justin, you showed those waste audits you did. I was just wondering what were the follow-up actions that came out of that? Were there sort of specific actions done, like removal of service or sort of putting sort of notices on the bins, or was there a new overall education campaign to follow up those audits?
Yep, so through the Regional Waste Group they do bin inspection programs, and Mick, how many have they done in the last 3 years?
Over 30,000.
30,000, so 30,000 lids have been lifted. If you've got a green sticker, well done. You've got a red one, try harder. Okay, but from that education, from that data capture that we were able to get from the audits, because it's never been done, now the regional group can then go out to the community with hard facts of education processes. So the curbside inspection program is going through a review at the moment. It will take a brave council in Tasmania to put a sticker on a bin and say, nope, you're not having it anymore. I work for 2 councils in Melbourne and they do that and they love it. They love sticking in the bin, and then, you know, and it's a big sticker. You'd be lucky to get it off the lid. But they have that thought process of, if you're going to abuse the system, you don't get it. So I would love that to happen here. But political pressure, again, I'm not the one that has to answer all the phone calls. But again, through that education process, and now that we have that data, without saying, please give me the next audit job, whether it's me or someone else, they need to continue doing it, because without data, you don't know.
And have you looked at also sort of using bin cameras and doing weights rather than just doing the actual sorting?
Yep. So probably not with the bin weights, but certainly with the new contract, we'll be looking at that system in place of looking at cameras. So yes, don't be alarmed. We can't read your mail, but there is a camera that looks at the bin. So when the contents goes into the hopper, we can see it. So if it's supposed to be curbside recycling and there's a garbage bag in it, the driver can press a button, takes a photo, goes up to the cloud, and then we can actually contact that resident straight away and say, hey, what are you doing? That's the technology that we're going to utilise in the next contract, and then that will actually work in well with the curbside assessments to make sure that if there's a bad street, the city council officers can go down, they can look at the bins through a curbside assessment, and then depending on the value of that assessment process, they could probably knock on some doors, have some re-education process.
So would that also apply to FOGO collections?
Yes, definitely. FOGO is, I guess, even more critical to make sure contamination is not there. You have a glass bottle, it breaks in the truck, it spreads everywhere. We have some product in a park at the moment. Am I allowed to say which park?
Yeah.
City Park. Okay, we've been doing a trial at the moment. FOGO Organics, fully composted, Australian standards, gone through the process, and non-composted material, it's growing beautifully. You can certainly see the difference in regards to this product because it's got nutrients, it's all that sort of stuff. But we as a council and we as the community wouldn't be able to accept that if it had glass fines through it, because it would shine in the dark. Okay, so again, we need to make sure that quality is correct. And yes, FOGO is important for that. Yep, Harvest Market do it as well.
What's happening in the state regarding long-term with tyres?
Tyres, ooh, ooh, got all day. There's a couple of stockpiles happening at the moment, which will hopefully stop. At the moment, tyres are a controlled waste, managed through the EPA. There is one contractor in Tassie that is collecting them and actually recycling them. So the City of Launceston has signed up with that program. So they are mulched or shredded, cut up, and then they're put in shipping containers and sent to Melbourne to be refined further.
No, I'm dead against it.
Yep. What would you like to see happen with tyres?
Converted to fuel.
Yep. Refuse-derived fuel.
Regulations, technology of building.
Yep.
One plant in Perth, they're building a new one in Toowoomba, sorry.
Yep.
And they've got one in Warren, and
Yes.
they're working perfectly. And yet, when they went to put one in Campbelltown,
Yep.
there was such a community outcry that it didn't happen.
Happens everywhere.
So much
Yep.
energy being used in the current system
Mm-hmm.
to, I mean, I'm involved in making chrome out of rubber
Yep.
tyres, and it's a very high energy recycling of tyres.
Definitely. Yep. I agree. Why are we shipping this all the way to China?
One of
It
the
needs to be
reasons
done
there,
locally.
Justin, is because of the label on it.
Yep. Potentially.
Now, I believe your pet waste can go into the FOGO bin, is that correct?
There's tight restrictions on animal waste in your FOGO. Okay, real. I guess the issue that we have with composting and organics is that some people think that biodegradable is compostable. It's not. So that's why the City of Launceston has gone through the track of no bin liners, because the issue is that you run out of bin liners, you go to Bunnings, Woolies, the supermarket, and you buy the cheapest ones which say biodegradable. All they do is they break down and they produce micro beads, microplastics, and they contaminate the composting. So with animal waste, kitty litter, yes, some of it can go in there, but some of it can't. So I guess my philosophy is err on the side of caution and no. But if you want to have that proper discussion, give Mick a call and he can teach you through it, because I guess the issue is that some people, especially with dog faeces, they pick it up in a plastic bag. That bag is not compostable. They don't want to reopen it again. I don't blame them. I don't have a dog. That's why. Okay, so then you put the plastic bag in the organics bin and it contaminates because it breaks up through the process.
I was in particular, I guess, thinking of cat litter,
Yep.
which, ends up being quite bulky.
Yep.
And I was wondering if the silicon crystal type of
Mhm.
cat litter is okay to go.
No.
No,
No.
it's not acceptable.
No. Needs to be the cardboard or your wood pellets.
The clay ones would be okay. The clay
Be careful. Again, give Mick a call.
They're mixed with
Yeah.
He's around all day. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, I guess, because again, it's like coffee cups. You don't want to just say yes. We need to be real stringent on that.
The other part of it is that there's people involved in these processes. So if there was a whole heap of dog feces in there, imagine how difficult it would be for them to do the decontamination, to do the composting process as well. So it's more a bit of human health safety as well.
Cool. There's a box that you need to speak into. So
Is it?
yeah, it's coming.
I know about it.
Catch. Nice arm.
Yeah, I'm just wondering regarding, I'm sorry, I thought it started at 1:30, so I'm late.
Gorgeous.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, has anyone else asked about the bio cups like you get down at the market?
Mm-hmm. No.
Bio cups, are they combustible?
Bio cups, yes.
Compostable?
Yes,
Sorry.
but
Yeah.
but then again, there's 1,001 different types of coffee cup. Some are compostable, some are biodegradable. So please just check to make sure. But the Bio Cup brand, yes.
Yeah, and in regards to the waste that's collected here in Tasmania, the recyclables, is that being stored somewhere? Because it must cost a lot more money for it to get off the island.
Yep.
Or not. So in future, will the council be looking at keeping the highly recyclable things like glass out of
Yep.
the paper, so it's not going to be contaminating it?
No, we're sticking with the commingled system. Yes, I guess for everyone's information, when you bundle all our recyclables together, glass breaks, it gets caught into the cardboard, it devalues the cardboard through the process. So some councils in Melbourne are actually giving everyone a fourth bin, a little glass bin. Yarra Valley is doing that. We're not. But again, it's that sorting process. So again, through the new contract that's that'll roll out soon, there's different technologies for sorting that material better, and then there's better systems in place to recycle those sorts of things. Yeah.
So we've just probably got time
Yeah.
for one more question if there is one before we just kind of reset for the next session. So just Danny.
Okay, I'm in a farming background, and my question is, what happens to all the wire and all the rusty wire? What do you do with it once we take it to the recycling centre?
Sure thing. So I guess I have an issue with fencing wire at some of my facilities, because most of the time it's fencing wire, it's the wooden post, and it's about 2 tonne of grass still stuck to it. Okay, so again, you've got to make sure it's a clean product because we're actually manufacturing that into a resource. So your wire, yes, if it's clean and goes onto the scrap metal pile, gets recycled. Most of it ends up in Melbourne and gets reprocessed and probably comes back as a car or something like that. Okay, but you need to make sure it's clean, and then it will be recycled.
Just
Box.
on that. Oh,
Sorry.
just on that, we've got a lot of silage
Yep.
wraps at our
Mhm.
farm. So I'm just wondering, I know my dad said, Lisa, you've got to give me that number. I'm just wondering whether the councils are letting farming people know that
Mhm.
that's actually been, recycled
Yep.
and collected for free.
Yes, so some facilities around Tasmania have a free silage wrap program in place for collection and process. Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
Georgetown.
So again, that needs to be a clean product because the netting is not, the silage is not, the grass is not. So again, it needs to be a pure, clean product, and that's the issue that we have with recycling, is that we throw all these things in and then expect someone to take it for free. There's a lot of other things that need to be done. So silage wrap, plastic bags, all those sorts of things are interesting. But I see a policeman and he's keen to talk.
Yes, so we're going to wrap up this session. So a big round of applause to Justin. We will be around this afternoon in the speak out area if you haven't been there. So if you've still got more, and we'll come to me as well. So if you've still got more questions and want to continue the conversation, please head next door. The next session we have in here is flooding and emergency response management. So if you want to stay for that, you're welcome to. We'll be starting in about 10 minutes.